Hi, I am Gayla Campbell, and I'm going to spend a little time with you and share a word with you each time that we meet. And then I'm also going to share a verse of scripture with you. Hopefully, the word that I share is a word that you will use in your day each time we visit. Sometimes you're going to hear from me. Sometimes you'll hear from me and my husband. And then sometimes you will just hear from my husband. So we're going to be kind of doing this a little bit back and forth with each other. Now, just to tell you a little bit about me, I have worked in the prison system in the past. It's been 15, 20 years ago. However, what I did there was I wrote curriculum for sex offenders, and then I also did group and individual counseling with them. And I also, the goal of that was to reduce recidivism. And so that was a part of what we did. And then I also did trainings for employees in the prison system. However, though I did do that job, it became more than that over the years, and it began to include guards, nurses, administrative staff, and others dropping by my office and just visiting, and that's what we called it, was just visiting. We didn't call it counseling sessions, even though it actually, that's what I would describe it as today. And what I'd like to share with you today is the word priorities. I think it's hard for us to keep priorities in order, mainly because society teaches us differently. And it is also a word that came up a lot when I was interacting with inmates, when I was interacting with coworkers. And let's look at a Bible verse that helps put this word in perspective. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. Now, this is Genesis 2:24. What I've watched and I've observed is that jobs in the prison system tend to be very vulnerable to divorce and sometimes just flat out horrible marriages. So, whether you're a correctional officer or other employee in the prison system, you are so important that God describes the very first marriage at the beginning of humankind. Genesis 2:24 describes the first and the perfect escape-proof relationship between Adam and Eve. Now, when you become one with your spouse, you place them and your marriage above everything else on this earth. And a huge yes. That means above kids, the job, the friends, and other family. We can grow a strong relationship when we follow God's spiritual priority. Honoring that heavenly hierarchy also means elevating your spouse so you both rise above anything that comes against you. When your relationship is the priority, just like God has designed it, it provides marital strength and the ultimate protection against any threats that are going to come against your relationship. Now, this is not easy. It's hard work. And it takes both spouses. Not just one spouse can do this on their own. It does not happen that way. A marriage won't survive if the house is divided. But when the biblical model of the prioritized marriage, when that is honored, you're fighting back to back with your spouse and you become very tightly woven. And it becomes much more difficult to be divided. Now, the prioritized marriage keeps life in perspective by balancing the priorities. So often the job is placed above all else, but this isn't what God intended. This is what society tells us. Think about when you are getting to know someone and they are start trying to talk to you about different things that so they can get to know you. One of the first questions they're going to ask is, what do you do for a living? Society has put our job as the priority. But when we keep it in perspective the way that God intends it, the priority is placed on the marriage partnership, which means that all the other relationships become healthier in our life. Your happily ever after depends and begins on Genesis 2:24. Your marriage matters. Think back to the time when you vowed for better or for worse and you committed to your spouse that you love above all others. Hang on to that feeling. It will give you the motivation to hang in there and do whatever it takes to keep the priorities where they need to be. Think about your personal priorities in your life. The optimum structure would be God first, then the marriage, then kids, then family, then friends, then work. Realize where work is. It's number 6. But realize that this is a goal and not the reality in every marriage. It takes work to keep your priorities in order. It takes time to truly pray over what the priorities in your life look like. Once it's drawn out, pray over how that structure hinders or helps your marriage, and write out ways to realign those priorities so that the reality matches your words. My prayer for you today is that you have a prioritized day, a prioritized marriage, and a prioritized life. Have a prioritized day.